To be a successful entrepreneur, you can't spend too much time worrying about the downside, or else you'll never get any big, pioneering ideas off the ground. But what happens when the pioneers think too big? Well, the young founders of Boo.com discovered the answer to that when they tried to build a state-of-the-art global fashion business and ended up with the ultimate .com disaster.
I mean, we were so confident ourselves, this is going to be the biggest company in the world.
You can go too far, promising far too much, not being able to execute anywhere near the promises.
There are lots of good ideas. There aren't that many people who can actually put it into practice.
In just 18 months, Boo went from concept to catastrophe, burning through nearly £100 million worth of investment on the way. Back in the mid-1990s, a Swedish poetry festival organiser had a dream.
I just know that internet's going to be so big, it's going to change the whole world. I mean, it's just going to change the whole world. I just saw this going to be a big, big, big thing.
He wasn't the only one to see an opportunity.
A euphoria swept over the marketplace, both in terms of businesses, investors, entrepreneurs, and across the board, with the opportunity to create new business models on the back of it.
Those were the days when you used to walk into companies and the receptionist was adding up the value of his or her stock options. It was an unreal era.
Having set up and sold off a successful Scandinavian online bookstore, Ernst and childhood friend Kaiser Leander decided they wanted to try something bigger.
We thought Sweden was too small, and now we were ready to conquer the world.
We started off quite aggressive. We were all a part of doing something completely new that no one else had done before.
And this time, they wouldn't just be using the internet to sell books.
We were going to sell sports and fashion, and a great shopping experience.
The idea was to bring, that exclusive fashion and style that you get in big urban cities and take that to the world.
To persuade sceptical investors that the Boo.com concept was a force to be reckoned with, the founders planned to launch simultaneously in 18 countries.
You need to be first, the biggest, the fastest. You need to conquer the world, and you need to do it immediately. Otherwise, someone else is going to do it.
High-profile backers invested and urged the team to get their website up and running in less than 6 months. Then they would float shares in Boo on the stock market and cash in on the .com boom.
Rationality really went out of the window at this time because the investors could back something they didn't quite understand, but they thought would give them a quick return when that business became a public company and was worth billions of pounds.
People think that investments are all very logical, but they're not always. There's a certain sheep mentality about investment.
Because so-and-so has made an investment, they're not dummies, they're pretty smart, I'll join them.
A lot of illogical decisions get made, and were made.
Spurred on by the confidence of their backers, the Boo team had no time to lose.
We were building a very big organisation, very, very fast, We
had the head office in London, office in New York, Stockholm, Copenhagen, Munich, Paris.
Boo.com came to my attention when they opened an office in Carnaby Street and started recruiting. I didn't know quite what to make of it. All I knew was that they were taking my staff and paying them double the price.
And we were so ambitious, we want to have the best marketing, the cleverest, the PR strategy. But of course, our biggest problem and headache from the beginning was the technology.
In the 1990s, most websites were simple and functional, but Boo was going to have complex multilingual animation and zoomable, spinning images.
We had planned to find one technology partner who could muster the resources to build a website that would serve all these countries in multiple currencies, multiple languages, retail systems, customer service systems, office infrastructure, and it was clear that no one had done this before.
We had lots of meetings with these big companies, and we thought, they're a bit backwards, they don't really understand our vision, or, maybe it's better to do it in-house,
But in the end, the idea of a prime contract went out the window and we went to do it ourselves.
The Boo team ploughed on with building their complicated website, juggling this with all the other tasks involved in building an empire.
We pushed hard. I mean, we pushed hard on PR, pushed hard on the investment. And we travel around the world, you know. If people said we have a meeting next day in America, we were there.
People were arriving by the dozen. People were cramming into our Carnaby Street offices. We were working incredibly hard.
As the stock market for technology shares, the Nasdaq, rose and rose, the projected valuation of Boo climbed higher and higher, even though the site hadn't yet had a single customer.
The internet was really quite hot now. We were raising money, you know, $300, $400 million valuations.
I remember meeting a lawyer and I told him what I was worth. I was like £300 million or something like that. And he looked at me like I was a mad woman.
But although public confidence was at a high, in private, doubts were creeping in. Launching a global online department store was turning out to be a whole lot more complicated than setting up a Nordic online bookshop. Boo's in-house technology team was struggling.
We had plans to launch May 1st, but quickly became apparent that we weren't ready. And so, you know, a second date was set a few weeks after. And it became apparent closer to that date that we weren't going to launch.
We were frustrated, you know. Why can't we launch? Why is the platform not ready? What's the problems? Maybe we can't even launch. Maybe the platform never going to be ready.
We were funding people in offices, you know, across the world that had multi-million pounds a month costs, and pushing the launch date back, pushed the time back when we would start to get revenue. And we had to raise millions more dollars to support the company while these problems were fixed.
Boo's backers stumped up more and more cash to keep them going. The site was still a work in progress, but pressure was mounting, and eventually they had to launch.
We were all gathered in the central part of our Carnaby Street offices.
People have champagne, all our investors called us, some investors sent us a lot of presents, chocolate for all the stuff.
Ernst pressed the button and suddenly the site was live.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hundreds of thousands of pre-registered customers, expectant journalists and the general public would now be able to access the site.
Happy launch.
Now it begins.
I was extremely interested to see what the Boo.com platform offered the moment it went live. What I saw immediately told me that this is a company that didn't really know where it was going.
The site just fell over at 10:07.
What we were trying to deliver had a lot of multimedia. We had these 3D images, we had a lot of pictures of the product, there was a lot to send down the wires. And back in those days, you know, no one had broadband. There weren't many people with fast connections.
They had this Miss Boo avatar that was, you know, guiding you through the process. But unless you had an extremely high-speed internet connection, you couldn't see anything.
With only 80 orders made by 3 o'clock on the first day, there was little for customer services to do.
Any calls yet? We've had 2 so far, haven't we?
No.
You had one?
No, I phoned somebody.
Yeah, you phoned. Yeah, that's the difference. It's a customer contact. And then Jackie had one, but they weren't available, so it was a callback. So we're all excited.
The list of fixes that we had to complete just went on and on.
Switch and sell is definitely broken completely. It's just slow.
We're in slightly worse shape than we thought we were.
It's already expanding. It's making me nervous already.
People are logging in and getting a switch of the language. I think 2% of our audience at the time were on Macintosh computers.
The only Macintosh users we can support now cannot order from the site.
It's a major problem though.
Yeah, it's a major problem. Jesus Christ.
As fast as the team could fix the faults, new problems erupted.
Oh, the black products are really, really black. Oh my god.
Let's start the meeting now.
Ernst, it's a bad moment.
Okay, right, okay. So the site stays down for another 10 minutes while you have the meeting? Okay, that's what I'm doing, that's what I'm saying.
We had a very big burn rate. That burn rate was for supporting a global organisation in 6 countries. It was supporting global advertising. It was supporting a technology platform that had cost millions of dollars more than it needed to.
In spite of all the problems, projections for Boo's share flotation had remained rosy. Until
suddenly, you know, one day in March, you know, the Nasdaq, the market where we're going to float the company, collapsed. And from that day, everything changed.
When the Nasdaq crisis happened, there was no money around anymore, and it became impossible to find new investments.
Just 6 months after opening for business, Boo was bust.
One of Britain's highest profile internet companies has collapsed.
We decided to put the company into liquidation.
It was a very, very big disappointment, and also let all these people go.
I was standing up on the desk, have all the people around us, and I mean I was crying, and I said, you know, I'm terribly sorry. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, you know, that this could happen.
Frustrating as it is for entrepreneurs, there's good reason to grow a business in lots of small steps rather than one giant leap. With each small step, you can take stock as to what your next move should be. You can learn as you go. Boo had no chance to learn much about its own business until it was irredeemably overcommitted.
Boo.com got so many things wrong. Had they have not had such a complicated user interface, they might have been able to sell a few products. But the other mistake they made is they tried to launch worldwide on day one.
We thought it was going to happen overnight. It didn't. We were too big, too soon.
When it came to the crunch here, they were operationally weak. Good idea in principle, operationally not doable within the timescale or the finance that they had available.
We tried to achieve too much in a short time. I mean, it's a balance between risks and rewards. And it's always a thin line between big success and completely failure.
The Boo.com name now belongs to a thriving travel website. But Boo's efforts didn't entirely go to waste. One man recognised that behind the fiddly front pages, the team had created a formidable system combining logistics and the web.
It was that technology that we built into our vendor platform, and today is used by the world's top retailers to serve their customers. So in many respects, Boo helped establish many of the high street retailers' existing e-commerce practices today.